If you believe that the chosen ones are special beings, endowed with purpose, a powerful soul, and a divine force, then you have barely begun to understand what it truly means to be one of them. What no one tells you is that the chosen ones are actually considered extremely dangerous, not just because of what they are capable of doing, but because of the impact they can have on the world around them. And this is exactly what you need to know. There is a hidden journey, marked by signs and challenges that few dare to face, and every second of this video will reveal the side that no one has ever shown. This revelation can change the way you see your own life and your purpose. You have heard the stories about the chosen ones, those who carry an almost incomprehensible force, but what no one tells you is what that force really means. Today, I will reveal secrets that have been kept in the shadows, information that, for some reason, they prefer you never discover. And this is not by chance. Being chosen is not just a privilege or a glorious destiny. It is a path shrouded in dangerous mysteries, challenging everything you think you know. There is a reason the word danger is always associated with the chosen ones. It is no coincidence. There are hidden truths that have never come to light because they show a controversial facet of what it means to carry this power. Stay until the end, and you will see how the world around you might be hiding the true nature of the chosen ones. This is a cliché everyone knows. The chosen one as the idealized hero, the one who arrives to save the world and restore order. In movies and stories, they are portrayed as altruistic individuals, almost unquestionable, true saviors. But what happens when we look beyond this shiny surface? Is the image of the chosen one really that simple? Maybe not. There is a depth, a complex duality that is usually ignored, and this is what we are going to explore now. The chosen ones possess special abilities or powers that, at first glance, place them above others. This already generates a certain distrust among people around them, especially those who see this superiority as a threat to balance. And this is where we begin to realize that being a chosen one is not just a blessing. In fact, this position brings a heavy burden, a responsibility that few can truly understand. Think about it. How many stories show the chosen ones as those who destabilize order, who bring not only hope but also chaos? Often, they are accused of causing destruction and violence, generating more problems than solutions. But this happens because these characters, in trying to change things, end up confronting very powerful forces and, in many cases, established interests. This is the real complexity of the figure of the chosen ones, a constant duality between being admired and feared. When we look at this duality, we realize that the chosen ones cannot simply be placed in the role of heroes or villains. We are human, or at least possess a very human complexity. We face moral dilemmas, make difficult choices, and sometimes are forced to act in ways that may seem dangerous. And that is when the public begins to wonder, are they really as noble as they seem? The idealized image of the chosen ones blinds society to the reality that they can indeed be a threat. We possess the capability to alter the balance of power on a global level. Our power is one of change, of transformation, and this scares those who are accustomed to stability. For many, the chosen ones represent a threat to the status quo, and this is a truth that few have the courage to admit. But do we represent an intentional threat? Or do we unintentionally create chaos while trying to do good? This is where the duality of the chosen ones becomes even more intriguing. Many of us start our journeys with pure intentions, but pressures, challenges, and difficult choices put us in situations where our actions can be seen in various ways. In such a complex world, are good and evil absolute concepts? Perhaps this is why the stigma of the chosen ones being dangerous is so common. We bring such a great impact, such intense change, that we are perceived as a threat. But are we really? Or do we just challenge the comfortable reality that many have grown accustomed to accepting? These are the questions we need to ask to understand who the chosen ones truly are. Whether the chosen ones are seen as villains or heroes depends a lot on who is telling the story. For those who wish to maintain power, anyone who challenges the system is a threat. So, perhaps the chosen ones are seen as dangerous because they represent inevitable change. We are the spark that rekindles the desire for something new and different, something that scares those in control. And now, think with me, is being chosen really a gift, or perhaps a disguised curse? If the expectation is for us to make sacrifices for the greater good, how much room does that leave for us to be seen as genuine heroes? The complexity of their actions and their consequences create a narrative that places us between heroes and villains, between admiration and fear. So, I ask you, are the chosen ones really dangerous? Or is there a layer of manipulation and fear around their stories that prevents us from seeing the truth? When we talk about the chosen ones, it is common to hear adjectives like dangerous, unpredictable, or even threatening. But have you ever stopped to think where this reputation really comes from? Do these qualities represent a genuine threat, or are they just labels that have been carefully constructed? It's as if there is a hidden truth, one that we rarely question, but that begins to make sense when we analyze it closely. Imagine for a moment that someone with great powers or abilities is not just another ordinary member of society, but a symbol of change, something that instigates the desire for transformation. Now, is this something a system that depends on order and control desires? The fear around the chosen ones could very well be a strategically created narrative to keep these individuals isolated, feared, and thus controllable. The idea that the chosen ones are dangerous seems to be everywhere, in stories, in legends, in ancient accounts, and even in the books we use for education. Is this a coincidence, or part of a story shaped by those who control what we hear and believe? What would happen if, in fact, these stories were planted as a way to suppress the potential of the chosen ones and maintain the established order? It is hard to ignore the fact that, throughout history, there have always been figures or institutions seeking to maintain control over the masses. Governments, organizations, and elites have often used fear and mystery to direct our perceptions. The danger of the chosen ones could be a psychological weapon, a strategy to keep them on the margins of society and prevent their powers from inspiring changes that threaten the status quo. By painting the chosen ones as a threat, the controllers of society achieve something valuable: the isolation of these individuals. We are treated as different, avoided, and kept away from common social interaction. This strategy of isolation is essential because it prevents the chosen ones from uniting and discovering the true power they have in their hands. An interesting detail in this plot is how society is encouraged to see the chosen ones as the problem. But isn't this actually a smokescreen? By directing all our attention to the danger they represent, we end up overlooking other real problems around us, problems that perhaps the true manipulators would prefer we never investigate. Fear is one of the most powerful emotions, and perhaps for that reason, one of the most exploited as a tool of control. When we fear something, we tend to obey blindly, to believe what we are told about the unknown. And the chosen ones, being different and unusual, become a perfect target for this technique. Are we all being manipulated to believe that the chosen ones are dangerous, when in fact fear is a mask for something they prefer we don't discover? This question takes us to the heart of the matter. Who really benefits when the chosen ones are marginalized, feared, and isolated? Why does the system prefer that we be seen as villains? Perhaps this answer reveals that the real danger is not in the chosen ones, but in those who move the gears of narratives to ensure we believe what they want us to believe. If we think about it, this reputation of danger may be more linked to the chosen one's ability to provoke change than to any real threat they represent. Perhaps our power is a power of transformation, something that challenges norms and standards that benefit only a portion of society. What would happen if the chosen ones were seen not as villains, but as those with the potential to change the world for the better? Have we been conditioned to fear what we do not understand? Could it be that the real danger of the chosen ones is not in their actions, but in the fear that the system has of losing sight of them? Questions like these are essential because they lead us to reflect on the nature of manipulation and the possibility that, deep down, the chosen ones are actually the key to a different future, a future that perhaps someone does not want us to reach. Jesus was one of the greatest examples of someone who sought to promote love, empathy, and justice, but who, in his time, was seen as a threat to the established religious and political system. His message was revolutionary, as it challenged hypocrisy, questioned the authority of those who used faith to control, and proposed a vision of equality that threatened the existing hierarchy. The leaders of the time feared that this worldview could undermine their authority. They did not see him as a savior, but as a danger to be eliminated. And thus, what could have been a light was villainized, and Jesus ended up being condemned as a criminal by those who were afraid of losing control. Moses is another fascinating figure who faced strong opposition in seeking to free his people from slavery. Even after all he did for the Hebrew people, he was constantly challenged, and his leadership was viewed with distrust by many. The Pharaoh saw him as a threat, someone who could not be left free to inspire the people with ideas of freedom and dignity. Moses wanted to free people from an oppressive system, but his image was constantly attacked to make him appear as someone dangerous, someone who only wanted to challenge Egypt's power, when in fact, he represented a hope for change and liberation. Mahatma Gandhi led one of the most peaceful and impactful movements in history, that of India's independence, through non-violence and peaceful resistance. However, his figure was also defamed, attacked, and villainized. For the British, he was an agitator, someone who challenged the colonial system and threatened the control they had over India. He wanted to bring freedom and dignity to his people, but he was imprisoned and persecuted several times, labeled as a danger to the established order. The colonial elite saw him as a threat because he was revealing to the world the injustices of an oppressive system that many preferred to maintain. Martin Luther King Jr., with his fight for civil rights and racial equality in the United States, was a powerful force that challenged the racist social norms of the time. His message of peace, justice, and equality was seen as a threat to those who benefited from the segregated status quo. He was constantly monitored, persecuted, and even attacked by the very authorities who were supposed to protect citizens. Martin Luther King Jr. was villainized as a danger to the proper functioning of society, simply because he had the courage to speak out against oppression and inequality. He wanted unity and equality, but for many, it was more convenient to portray him as someone inciting chaos. Let's explore the complexity of the concept of being a chosen one. Popularly, when thinking of chosen ones, we are usually imagined as heroes, people predestined to save the world, bring balance, or do justice. But the truth is that this journey is rarely that simple. What most do not realize is that the chosen ones frequently face deep moral dilemmas that challenge their own perception of right and wrong. To fulfill the role we were chosen for, we need to make decisions that, in the eyes of some, may seem heroic, but to others, may appear completely misguided or even cruel. The dichotomy between hero and villain is, largely, a matter of interpretation. You, as a chosen one, need to make a decision to save a group of people, but in doing so, you sacrifice other lives. This type of situation puts the chosen one in an ambiguous position, where he is forced to weigh who he chooses to save and who he leaves behind. For those who are saved, he is a hero, someone worthy of admiration. But for those who lost someone, this same chosen one can be seen as a villain, someone who caused pain and loss. This moral complexity of the chosen ones generates an intriguing duality. Often, their decisions are made in a context of necessity or urgency, where there is no room to consider all alternatives. The action needs to be immediate. In some cases, we opt for what we believe is the greater good, but it can come at a high cost. This choice can negatively impact the lives of others, creating a trail of pain and consequences difficult to measure. It is this ambiguity that often leads to the idea that the chosen ones are dangerous. An essential point to consider is that the image of a dangerous chosen one arises precisely from this duality. On one hand, we are driven by a mission, perhaps even a destiny outlined by forces beyond our comprehension. On the other hand, we carry an immense responsibility that forces us to make decisions that will inevitably harm someone. Thus, the chosen ones are polarizing figures. For some, they are the personification of hope. For others, a risk no one should take. What is most interesting is that, in some cases, we ourselves are tormented by this duality. We know that our actions, no matter how well-intentioned, can cause harm. This creates an internal battle, where we need to deal with the pressure of meeting the expectations that others place on us, while trying to stay true to who we really are. This is a struggle that goes far beyond the external confrontation with enemies or physical challenges. It is a silent but intense battle against our own fears and regrets. The moral complexity of the chosen ones ends up generating a variable interpretation of their actions. Depending on the point of view, what we do can be seen as an act of courage or an act of foolishness. This is one of the reasons why we are perceived as dangerous. No one ever knows exactly what our next action will be, or how far we are willing to go to achieve a goal. And for those on the opposite side of our objectives, this uncertainty is reason enough to fear us. The duality of the chosen ones also leads us to reflect on the very concept of hero and villain. Do these labels really make sense when we are dealing with situations where there is no clear line between good and evil? In the end, is the chosen one just a reflection of the intentions and hopes of the people who place their faith in them? What makes someone a hero or a villain is, largely, a matter of perspective, and the chosen ones are living proof of how subjective this view can be. It is important to remember that we, the chosen ones, are not perfect and idealized figures. We are, first and foremost, human with limitations, flaws, and doubts. The pressure of being chosen can lead us to question how far it is worth sacrificing our own lives, values, or personal happiness. This means that, at times, the chosen one has to make decisions that they themselves may not consider ideal, but that become necessary to ensure the safety or well-being of many. These sacrifices, no matter how noble they seem, can be misinterpreted by those who do not understand their responsibility. Sometimes, the choice of a chosen one can be misunderstood by those they most want to protect. This is one of the great dilemmas. Should we act according to what is expected to maintain the image of a hero, or should we follow what we believe to be best, even if it makes us appear as a villain? This choice creates a tension between what we represent and what we really are, generating a conflict that only we can fully understand. What makes a chosen one truly dangerous is not their strength or power, but the ambiguity of their choices and the duality of their role. What many interpret as danger can, in fact, be the price of carrying the responsibility of a destiny that perhaps was not chosen. Considering this perspective, we can reflect on what it means to be a hero or a villain. The chosen ones represent this duality with intensity and complexity, reminding us that, often, good and evil are not as distinct as we imagine. When we talk about the danger of the chosen ones, many immediately think of acts of destruction or uncontrollable power. But what if the real danger is not necessarily in the direct actions they commit, but in what they represent? Imagine a world where the established order is constantly questioned, where the rules we know no longer apply. This is the real impact of the chosen ones. We are more than individuals with special abilities. We are a symbol of something much more threatening to the status quo. And why does this cause so much fear? Because the chosen ones are like mirrors for those who seek control and stability. We show that no matter how much they try to shape the world to their liking, there will always be forces and people who challenge this vision. The presence of a chosen one is a constant reminder that no one can stop change. Societies, throughout time, have always resisted those who have the power to transform them profoundly. And here lies the point. The real danger of the chosen ones is not what we do, but the possibility we bring of a new world. When a chosen one emerges, they challenge natural or social laws, forcing everyone around them to rethink their beliefs. Governments, authorities, and those in power feel the threat because, in essence, what is at stake is the very structure that keeps the system standing. The chosen ones, being capable of changing everything, carry the potential to shake everything that is familiar and safe, and this provokes an irrational fear, the fear of uncertainty. Think about it. Every chosen one carries the power to rewrite history. In exercising this power, we do not necessarily destroy the world, but rather the certainties about the world. For those accustomed to a fixed reality, where everything has order, this ability to generate new paradigms is frightening. The problem is not that the chosen ones are inherently destructive, but rather that we are catalysts of transformations that cannot always be predicted. In other words, the chosen ones are dangerous because they represent a force that the world cannot control. We embody what is most subversive and inspiring, the possibility that everything can change. Those who control power fear losing that position, and the chosen ones symbolize exactly that, a loss of control. And this psychological threat, that the world can be different, can be devastating for those who cherish order. The resistance against the chosen ones, then, may not be because they are violent or vengeful, but because they are different. We challenge old concepts and force a reflection on what is really necessary for a society. And this willingness to change, to follow new paths, is often misunderstood as rebellion or danger, when in fact it is a legitimate impulse for evolution. But what if the real problem with the chosen ones is not the destruction they cause, but the construction they are capable of achieving? We should see ourselves as a sign that the rigid structures of the past no longer serve us. The chosen ones are not the cause of the rupture, but the necessary catalyst for positive transformation. The danger of the chosen ones is not about intention, but about impact. We force everyone to face an uncomfortable truth. The world is dynamic, not static, and the chosen ones are living proof that nothing is immutable. We represent the unknown, the incalculable, that which cannot be tamed. Now, I want you to stop for a second and reflect on this. They tell you that being a chosen one is dangerous, that the path is risky, that you could get lost. But the truth is, that's only part of the story. The other part, the more powerful one, no one tells you. They are afraid that you will discover the true potential that exists within you. Afraid of the impact you can have on the world. You are a chosen one, and that means much more than any label they try to give you. It means courage, it means overcoming, it means the ability to see beyond what everyone else sees. But being a chosen one also means you need to have the strength to stay firm, to believe in who you are, even when it seems no one understands. You have the power to be an agent of transformation, to break barriers and challenge expectations. Do not let fear stop you. Do not let the judgment of others hold you back. This journey is yours, and no one else can walk it for you. So I challenge you now, be firm, be yourself, and make a difference. Share your stories in the comments. By sharing experiences, we create identification with other chosen ones, strengthening our community. Thank you for making it this far. If this content resonated with you, follow the channel, like, and share this video with someone who might also be interested. If you want to know the hidden spiritual secret of the chosen ones about your birth date, the next video is for you. Click and discover now.